Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Essentials of Email Marketing. We're about a minute away from getting started. If you can hear me, please let me know in the comments section there. Feel free to throw a comment in there. Let me know that you can hear and see me and also see the screen. Obviously, that's going to be hugely important that you can see my presentation to start with. There we go. I've got a few notes coming through. Great. Thanks, Ness, for letting me know. Glad you can hear me. We'll just give it one more minute. There'll be a few more people joining us, so we'll just give them time to log on and join us. Trust you're all keeping well. For those of you that are also in WA, I'm based here in WA. You're obviously in lockdown at the moment, so trust you're keeping well despite the lockdown. I'm personally trying to keep a 1-year-old occupied inside a house for 4 days. So if you've got any tips, feel free to throw those in the comments as well. It's an interesting time for everyone. Obviously, everyone's impacted in different ways. So I hope you're keeping well wherever you might be. For those of you in Queensland, I'm sure you're experiencing slightly warmer temperatures than us as well. We're freezing over here in WA at the moment. So we'll just give it a couple more seconds and then we'll dive into it. All right, it is now 7 p.m. So what we'll do is we'll make a start and then I'm sure anyone else that's planning to join us can join us throughout. So again, welcome to Essentials of Email Marketing. This is the third in a series of webinars that I've been presenting throughout the month of June. We phrased it Webinar Wednesdays, hashtag Webinar Wednesdays. So welcome to the third and final segment of Webinar Wednesdays. And this webinar this evening is brought to you by Business Station through the ASBAS program. My name is Nathan Keane, as you're well aware. And this evening, I'm looking forward to talking through all things email marketing, giving you some simple, effective, and practical tips to help you in using email marketing within your business or organization. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Here's a quick rundown of how the evening's going to play out. We've obviously only got an hour together this evening, so we're going to try and keep it short, sharp, and to the point, as your emails should be when it comes to email marketing. So here's a quick rundown of how the night's going to look. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction, a bit about me, just so that you know who's talking to you this evening. Then we're going to dive into why use email marketing anyway. So what's the whole point behind email marketing? Then I'm going to dive into some essential do's and don'ts. So these are just some really fundamental points for you to take away. Then we're going to dive into the MailChimp component, which I'll actually talk you through and give you a demonstration of how to use MailChimp, how to set up a simple campaign, how to import your contacts, how to send out an effective email marketing how to send out an effective email using this email marketing tool. Then we'll dive into some next steps, so things that you can take away to think about. And then at the end, we will have some time for Q&A. Please, if you have questions at any point throughout the night, or even if you've got questions coming into this evening, feel free to throw them into the Q&A section at any stage. But we will actually leave that till the end so that we don't get sidetracked along the way. Hope that all sounds good to you. Again, feel free to throw questions into the Q&A section at any stage. I think we've got a few more joining us. So welcome to those of you who are just joining us. We're just about to dive into it, so you're just in the nick of time. So, quick introduction, a bit about me. I started my business, Seven Patterns, in 2013. I did so because I saw an opportunity to help particularly small businesses with their branding and marketing. I saw a whole lot of small businesses that weren't branded well to start with, and they were spending a whole heap of money on marketing, and because their brand wasn't strong, their marketing wasn't effective, and therefore it was a whole lot of wasted time and money. So I saw an opportunity, particularly in my own network, which has obviously grown over the years, to help a lot of small businesses, and obviously that's what brings me to this moment now, is I'm able to help you as a small business owner. I hold a business degree and an MBA, so I've done my fair share of study. and I'm now a consultant and an advisor to leaders across the business, government, and non-profit sectors. So I get to deal with a whole range of different people in a whole range of different contexts, and it's a whole lot of fun. And so this evening I'm hopefully bringing some of my learnings both in a university context, but also out in the real world, and things that I've seen work and not work. So tonight is very much a culmination of some of those things. So here we go. Let's dive into email marketing. Why use email marketing anyway? That's the big question. That's the hot topic this evening. So here's just 3 reasons I think that you should use email marketing. The first one is that in my experience, it's a strategic way to build and use customer data. So it's almost like an unofficial or a simplified version of a CRM system, a customer relationship management system. Now, my view is that in business, customer data is gold, but it's also a responsibility. If you've got customer data, that needs to be stewarded well. You can't just be spamming your people, or you can't be, passing around customer data like it's nothing. It's actually gold. So you need to hold on to that, and you need to use it wisely. And in doing so, you can build customer retention. Second point is that it's useful for internal and external communications. You might have seen that in the blurb around this webinar, is that I want to teach you how to use MailChimp in a way that is effective in engaging and connecting with both your internal and external audiences. Now, obviously, we're all in different situations. We've all got different sized businesses or working within different sized organizations. But MailChimp and email marketing can be effective for both internal and external communication. Certainly, in my experience, you can also use email marketing for pointing to other marketing channels. So particularly on the internal side, if you were to send out an email to your internal team members, pointing them to social media content or something else that's online that you want to draw their attention to, email marketing enables you to drop in videos, photos, different content to make it easy for them to drive them towards that content. And the third point is that email marketing is an effective component in any marketing strategy because you're able to diversify your impact. So we talk about touch points in marketing. So whether people are receiving a flyer or they're seeing an ad on social media or they're coming across your website, email marketing is another link in that chain towards pointing people to your product, your service, or retaining your customers. So there's just three reasons why I think email marketing is worth using. And hopefully as the night goes on, you'll see more and more the importance and the effectiveness of email marketing. I want to break it down to 2 different types of email marketing. There's a whole range that I've come across, but these are my 2 definitions for email marketing. So the first is blatant marketing. Now, I think if we were all in a room together tonight, I would be able to ask for a show of hands, and I'm sure we would all raise our hands to say that we've all been recipients of blatant marketing. Now, how I define blatant marketing is that it's consistent and it's confusing. So by consistent, I mean you receive them all the time at a range of different times. And then when it comes to confusing, oftentimes these emails are so cluttered with content, imagery, text, buttons to click on, calls to action, your name, numbers, all sorts of different things. So it becomes so cluttered and so confusing that you don't know what to do with them. You end up either deleting them, unsubscribing, leaving them by the wayside, not even reading them, not even touching them. And oftentimes, if you respond in that way, then they just keep coming. They double down and they keep sending you emails, or you click on one thing and they track that and they know how to get you to click on it again, and so on and so forth. So these images that you see on the screen at the moment are actual emails that I received recently. Now, obviously, on the left-hand side there, you've got the Uber Eats app, which, they're obviously, they've cottoned on that I'm based in WA and we now have a lockdown. So they're reminding me that even in lockdown, the Uber Eats app is still available. And then on the right-hand side, you've got Hugo Boss, which is obviously a clothing brand. They're letting me know that there's a sale on, obviously end of financial year. I can get up to 50% off. So they're really hounding me because I recently made a purchase at Hugo Boss. They obviously, in that process, they took my email address and they're going to keep reminding me that I made a purchase there and therefore I should make more purchases. Now, in my experience, or at least for me personally, I very rarely engage with these sorts of emails. I mean, obviously they can trigger certain thoughts, or they can remind me that, hey, I don't need to drive to pick up dinner tonight. I can actually order Uber Eats. But I personally think this is blatantly marketing, and it's consistent and it's confusing. But I'm open to other opinions, so feel free to throw those into the chat as we go along. Now, here's my preferred version of email marketing. Now, we all know that it is email marketing at the end of the day, but we want it to be subtle marketing. So we want it to be engaging and effective. So I've got two examples here. You may notice the one on the right-hand side is an email that you may have received yesterday. That was all part of the experience within this webinar, as I wanted you to experience email marketing firsthand. And this is actually going to be something that we'll talk about throughout the night, is I'll actually show you how I pieced together that email. And we'll obviously talk you through a bit of a demonstration as we do so. On the left-hand side, you may have cottoned on, I'm a West Coast Eagles fan. I'm a In the Wings member, so therefore I receive certain emails from the West Coast Eagles. Now, obviously, in this context, this is an important email. So whilst it's telling me something important about COVID-19 and the like, this is still executed through an email marketing function. So there's still things in that email that are drawing me to the West Coast Eagles, that are pointing me to their website, that there's underlying motives in that email. So whilst they're giving me an important message, it's subtle marketing. There's a reason for that email coming to my inbox, so therefore it's engaging and it's effective because it's subtly marketing to me as I read it. Likewise with the email that I sent to you, obviously I'm giving you some insights here and I'm being a little bit cheeky in the process, but the reason I sent you that email is so that you can get a bit of an understanding of what goes on behind the scenes before you receive that email. Now, within that email, you're obviously seeing references to my business, and that's because that's a business MailChimp account that I've set up for the very purpose of this webinar, so that I can walk you through the best way to do it. It's a new account that I created just so that I can walk you through it this evening. So I hope that makes some sense. But this evening, I want to focus on this subtle email marketing, which I believe to be both engaging and effective. So some quick statistics for you, just to emphasize the value in email marketing. 80% of business professionals believe that email marketing increases customer retention. So I obviously referred to customer retention at the start of the talk, and how the importance of having data, thereby you can re-engage your customers along the way. 80% of business professionals believe that to be true. They believe that email marketing does increase customer retention. And I don't know about you, but I'm all about customer retention because it's a whole lot easier to retain a customer than it is to win a new customer. And secondly, on average, email marketing generates $38 for every $1 spent. That's an astounding 3,800% return on investment. Now, I have every second person I talk to about marketing, they say to me, how much should I spend on marketing? How much should I spend on email marketing? How much should I spend on a website? How much should I spend on social media marketing? Now, it's sort of a how long's a piece of string, but in this context, email marketing is so valuable, and effective email marketing can be so useful in your business that these statistics are telling us that $38 for every $1. So that sort of return on investment, I don't know about you, but it's well worth spending some money on email marketing when you're getting a 3,800% return on your investment. So again, as I said at the start, if you can incorporate email marketing into an overall marketing strategy for your business, I reckon it's pretty good bang for your buck. So let's dive into some of the essentials. So here we have the essential do's. So I'm going to give you some essential do's and some essential don'ts. So firstly, essential do's. Do include consistent branding and contact details. Now, again, as I said, email marketing should form part of an overall marketing strategy. So you might be playing around on social media, you might have some things in the local newspaper, you might be running some Google ads. You want your branding to be consistent across the board. So when it comes to email marketing, ensure that your branding is consistent in your emails. And I'll obviously show you that once we get to MailChimp. Likewise, with your contact details, ensure that your contact details are consistent across your website, your social media channels, your email marketing. Ensure that the contact details are consistent. The second do break up text with headers or visual content. Now, obviously, in some contexts, such as the Eagles email that you saw earlier, that's largely text because it's an important message that they're trying to get across, but it's still subtle marketing. What I'm talking about here is when you're trying to re-engage or engage your customers, you want to ensure that you're breaking up your text so that it's not seen as just a text-heavy email that falls by the wayside. Now, I'll show you how to do that when we get to MailChimp, but it's important that you do break up the text with headers. So obviously headers for specific sections of your email, but also visual content such as images and videos and the like, and I'll show you that a little bit later. The third do is do tweak and test as many times as required. Now, I've seen others learn this the hard way, where they're not tweaking and testing their email enough before actually sending it to their audience. And I've seen an email that was supposed to be sent to a dear first name. So I was supposed to receive Dear Nathan, and it was sent to something like 30,000 people with Dear Friend. Now, Dear Friend isn't so bad, but it's not half as impactful as Dear First Name. So that was purely because they didn't test their email enough before clicking send. So I'll show you again how to do that a little bit later on. So there's the 3 essential do's. Some essential don'ts. First one, don't complicate it, particularly your copywriting. By copywriting, I mean the actual text, the actual message that you have within your email. Do not complicate this. Sometimes we think, oh, if we're sending an email to a large number of people, we need it to be just right, and it needs to be long and informative and in-depth. No, that's not necessarily, that doesn't need to be the case. You need to ensure that your copywriting, your message, your key messaging is not complicated, because people aren't spending a whole lot of time reading your email. So ensure that it's short, sharp, to the point. Second point is don't include too many calls to action, but at least one. Oftentimes you'll open an email, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, and you're seeing buttons and images and things flashing at you from every angle. That's not helpful. That's not driving people in a certain direction. That's probably just going to confuse people. As I said earlier, it's too blatantly marketing, and therefore people are less likely to engage. So don't have too many calls to action, but I encourage you to have at least one. And again, you would have noticed that in the email that I sent, and I'll show you a little bit later exactly what I mean. And the third essential don't is don't spam your audience. We all know what spam emails are like. We all direct emails to our spam when we receive them far too many times. So it's important that you don't spam your audience, because then you're just going to get more and more unsubscribed users or customers. Now, when you're monitoring your analytics, which I'll show you how to do that, you'll be able to see whether people are unsubscribing to your email or not. And if unsubscribes are on the increase, chances are you need to change something about the way that you're engaging with your audience. So, MailChimp. MailChimp is just one of many email marketing tools, but in my experience, it is the one that I've found most effective. most easy to use, both for designing campaigns and building audiences. I found it to be a responsive experience for both me as the user or the builder of the campaign, but also for my audience. And by responsive, I mean it's easy to use on devices, on laptops, on iPads, and the like. So I've now got MailChimp set up on my iPhone, which means when I'm on the daily commute or I'm out and about, but I still need to get an important message out to some customers or to a group of people or to my team, whatever it might be, I can write up an email through MailChimp rather than me going through and sending it to every single person individually. I can use MailChimp, I can piece together the email, and it's easy to click go to test it and then to click go at the right time. And then I've also found that the analytics enable me to monitor the impact and the response to my emails, which is hugely important because, again, as I said, that will be your guidance around what emails are effective, what messaging is effective, what are people responding to, and what are people ignoring. And then obviously you can craft your campaigns accordingly. So that's MailChimp in a nutshell. So without further ado, let's explore this together. So what I will now do is I'll just flick over to share with you MailChimp. I hope this is helpful so far. Feel free to add questions as we go along. Here we go. So here is, as I said, I'm giving you a bit of insight here. So this is a MailChimp account that I've set up for the purpose of this webinar. So you'll see, if I just take you to my dashboard, I've logged in, they've told me you designed your first email, nice work. Thanks very much, MailChimp. So now that I've created this account, I'm going to walk you through the steps that I went through to send you the email that you received yesterday. So along the side here, I've got create, audience, campaign, and then a whole bunch of other tabs. Now, the big three are these first three: create, audience, and campaign. Can someone just drop a note if you can see this? I just want to make sure that before we move further that you can actually see this MailChimp screen. So if you can drop me a note, that would be great. All right, great. Thanks for letting me know. Awesome. So let's continue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click create because I want to create a campaign. Now, actually, before we do that, let me actually show you the campaign from yesterday. So if I click on campaigns, you can see that I've built an audience here. And here are some campaigns that I've played around with. So here's the campaign from yesterday, webinar reminder. Now this is just giving me an overview of that campaign. So it's telling me that 50% of people opened it and 5.3% clicked on something. So that will make more sense as we go along. But for the time being, let me jump into this. So we want to send an email, a regular email, and we're going to put it as so here we go. Now I've created a new campaign called Webinar Test. At this point in time, for the list that I've created for the purpose of this webinar, it's 76 recipients. I'll show you shortly how to actually create a list. Now here's the three key components of an email that you're going to send out via MailChimp. So you've got from, as it says there, who's sending this campaign, subject, what's the subject for this campaign, and then the content of the campaign. So here, in the context of yesterday, I have my name, and then I had ASBAS advisor so that you knew who I was when I was sending the email, and then I've got one of my business email addresses. Now, the reason that this is important is because when people respond to my email, so whether they click on anything in the email or not, if they click reply to the email, this is where it's going to come to. I want to make sure that that's an email address that is appropriate, but it's also one that I'm going to be able to access if and when required. So I've put my name in, which is what will appear in people's inbox. Email address is what people respond to, and then I click save. Then when it comes to subject, I often leave this until I've actually put together the content of the email, because oftentimes as I'm writing up the email, I find it's much more effective and efficient use of my time if I'm able to just copy a key line or two from the subject, for the subject, I should say, because here we've got, obviously we want it to be short and sharp, but then the preview text is more of a sentence which I can draw on the content of the email for. So then it comes to designing the email. You will see here that MailChimp gives us a whole range of different options. There's, from selling products all the way through to educational sort of stuff. So in this context, where we're wanting to keep it pretty simple, short and sharp, to the point, I would suggest that we just use make an announcement. So if I click on that as a template, it's going to spit out sort of a stock standard style for me. There we go. So that's obviously how MailChimp's set it up to start with. So then what I need to do is start designing it how I want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I did yesterday. So if I go back to I'm just going to pull the content, go back to the email that I sent you. Now this is purely just to save some time. I'm just going to copy this. And now that I'm building a new email, I don't need a header, so I'm going to remove that. And then over on the right-hand side here, we've got a whole range of options. Now the main ones are sort of in these first few rows. And basically all you're doing here is you're choosing, okay, what type of content do I want in my email? And then you're dragging and dropping. So if I want text, see, I've grabbed that, and then I'm still holding my mouse so that I can see where the blue appears. You see how it says drop block here? That's telling me where that block's going to land as I let go. So if I let go of that now, there's now a text block. Now on the left-hand side of the screen, so this section here, that's your preview of the email, but you're actually creating the email on the right-hand side. So where I've highlighted this text now, that's where I'm creating the email. So what I'm going to do is, in your context, you'll obviously be writing up the email in here, or you might write it up in a Word document and drop it in here. But because I've just copied it from the email yesterday, I'm just going to paste it here. You'll see that now appears. Now, you're probably thinking, what's this test first name? That's just what appears in the preview, but I don't want that now. So I want it to say hi first name. So I want it to say hi Nathan when that email lands in my inbox. So I've obviously already got hi. So now I'm going to click up here on merge tags. Now merge tags is basically the tags that are available to you based on the list of audience that you have. So in this context, I've only got a few available to me, but I obviously want to use first name. So if I click first name, it's got a funny code looking thing, and that's just to tell me that will draw on the first name column of my spreadsheet, which I'll show you shortly. So we've got hi first name, and we've got the content of the email thus far. Now I want to change the format of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it all. I'm going to select Arial as my font. I'm going to choose size 14 is a little bit small, so I might go 16. And then I want it to be black text. So there we go. I've formatted my text there. Now here, this is obviously a preset. Oh, sorry, before I do that, I click save and close. So that saves that component. here is just a preset, which I don't need at this point in time. So I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to remove these other presets because they're not needed. All right. And now I'm going to go back over to the right-hand side here where I've got all of my options. And I'm going to grab image and text. Because if I can refer you back to the email from yesterday, obviously here I've got an image and I've got text. So now I've got a box that's appeared and I've got the option here to upload an image. So as I click that, here's my images, which obviously are already here because I uploaded them yesterday. But for you, you'd obviously click upload. When you're creating a new email and you want to upload new photos, you click upload here and select from your computer. But in this instance, I'm just going to click on that image and click insert. Now that's coming up quite large, so I don't want it to be like that. So I want to change the settings of it. So across the top here, you've got content, style, and settings. So as I click on settings, I can select left. So that now puts the image to the left and the text to the right. I can now go back to content and scroll down to the text section. Now, obviously, if I go back to my email from yesterday, I can copy that text, which you'll obviously be drawing on text from wherever you write it, paste it in again. Now that's come up a little bit big. So what I'll do is I'll just reduce the size of that. There we go. And again, I'll just change the font. So I'll make sure it's Arial. I'll make sure it's black text. So there we go. Now, obviously my email's starting to come together. Sorry, I'm just checking this comment here. Yes, so the preview panel, that's correct. It shows how the email is going to look, but I'll show you towards the end how you can ensure that it's going to look exactly how you want it to look. So let's carry on. Now, obviously here, I can play around with the spacing. So if I want a bit of extra space, I can just add an extra enter there. That just spaces it out nicely. Now, obviously, I still want to add more text. If I go back to the email from yesterday, I've still got a bit more text to add. So what I'll do is I'll copy that. And then again, drag across the text box. And then I'll drop that in there. Again, I can play around with the spacing. I'll just sort the font out. So make sure it's Arial. Make sure we want 16, and then we want dark text. So there we go. Now, when it comes to the button, which obviously there's a button sitting here, but I'll get rid of that just to show you from scratch how to get one. So if you look back at the email from yesterday, I've got a button here which is book a Zoom session now. Now you can create a button for any purpose whatsoever, but again, revert back to the right-hand side where you've got all your options under blocks. I now grab the button and I'm going to drag that across. Now, this is the default. It comes up with buy now. So I can now change that to book a Zoom session now with the web address. So whatever that web address should be. See, this is the one from yesterday. Now I want it to be in the color of my branding, which I will show you how to change that. So here you click on style. You've got all these colors. For the sake of now, I'll just pick this one. So there's a nice green. But if you want it to be more specific, you can actually paste the color code in there. That's obviously what I did yesterday, but I won't spend time on that now. And then in settings, we can change it from center to left or right. Now, because my text is aligned to the left, I would suggest setting the button to be left. You can also, obviously that's a smaller button, which is fit to text. You can actually change that to full width if you wanted to. That obviously makes it a little bit more prominent, but because this is part of a broader email, I'm just going to fit it to text. And then I just want to round it out with the final bit of text here. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to add one more text box underneath the button. So see how the button is in the middle of the text. So it's important that you have text, button, text. Otherwise, you can't drop that button into the middle of the text. And again, we'll just change the formatting. And then here I can obviously play around with the formatting as well. Space that out a bit. All right, so there we have it, the content of the email. Hopefully this is all making sense. And then at the top, as I said, it's important that you have consistent branding across your all your marketing channels, but particularly your email marketing. So here I want to drop in my logo. So if I click the pencil symbol there, edit the block, I can then click replace. And here's my logo from yesterday, which obviously in your instance, you can upload your logo. I'm now going to insert my logo, and whoa, it comes up big, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make this logo smaller by dragging this little tool on the right-hand side until I feel like it's about right. And then obviously we've got a sort of a shaded grey background there. Now that can look nice, but in this instance, if I want to change that to a white background, I go back to the home section, I click style, and then header, and then here's that color. So obviously it's white, it's grey currently, and I want to change it to white. So all I'm doing is I'm clicking there, and then I'm selecting white. So now there's no apparent break between the logo and the text. But if I do want to break it up with something, I can go back to the home block and grab a divider. So I'm now going to drop the divider in here. And that's just a simple line, which obviously it's a solid grey. I can change it to a dashed line, to a double line, to a groove, all sorts of different options there. And then again, I can change the color if I really want to, but I think the grey is kind of nice. So let's leave the grey. All right, so there we have it. We've got the branding, we've got the message. I know it's going to go to hi first name. Got a bit about me there to break it up, so a bit of an image to break up the text. And then again, we've got text here. We've got a button that's going to point people somewhere, so that's my call to action. And then we sign off the email there. Now, something else which you may have noticed in yesterday's email is these images were all clickable. So let me show you how to do that. So again, we go back to the logo, and here we've got options as to what to do with this image. I want to click link, and then I want to enter my business website address and insert that. So that now means in that email, when people click on this logo, it's going to point them to the website. Likewise here, I can add a link to my image, which again might be just the website. When in doubt, just point them to your website. And then again, the button we've already linked. So now it brings us to the footer. Now here you've got the option of adding your social media icons, but I would just encourage you not to clutter this section. So here we've got a whole range of different code, most of which you don't actually need. So I would just remove this. Now this copyright section is important. And then there's a section that MailChimp will actually automatically add to your email. Let me see if I can show you that. So this section here from yesterday's email is automatically added to MailChimp, and that's because it's a requirement for all email marketing to have that associated with it. So that's, I guess, something for you not to worry about, because MailChimp will actually add it for you. Now, the reason it's got this title here which says grow your business with MailChimp is because I haven't purchased the license with MailChimp. if you were to subscribe, which enables you to add more customers to your account, then that will actually that won't be there. So that's obviously their way of marketing through your marketing. So that's just an FYI. So now we want to sort out my footer to look like this. So what we're going to do is this information here will automatically be entered when you add your create your account and add your audience. But what I want to do is add the contact details, as you saw there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my website and I'm going to put my email address. So I've typed those there. So now if I highlight it, there's a little icon here, the link icon, which I'm sure you're all well aware of. And then again, I can add my website address. And then here for the email address, I can click the link again and I can actually select email address and it will preset a return email. So I can put that I want return emails to come here. And then I can put a subject line and I can even preset the body for the customer. So if you wanted it to be, yes, I would like more information about something, then you can actually preset that so that when they click that email address, it will pop up that preset email and they can simply click send or add to it and then click send. So that's a pretty handy tool as well. So that's that. So then in this context, obviously we're wanting to make it look like this. So I'm going to remove these icons and then I'm going to try and put another image in. So I'm going to drag another image there and I'm going to upload this image. I'm going to pull it from here. I'm going to insert that. And now I want to change the actual color of the footer, which I won't get too specific for now, but just to give you an idea. Oh, sorry, we go back to the home block, click style, click footer, and here is where I can change that color to suit. So there we go, we can play around with it till it suits. So that's that. Obviously with that comes an issue with the text. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to change the text color. We just scroll down. Here we go, footer text, and we'll just make that black for the time being. We'll make the footer link black as well. So without getting the specifics on the colors there, that gives you an idea of how to change all of that. Now, because we're quickly running out of time, I'm going to quickly show you how to set up your audience. So actually, before I do that, I'm going to just copy a line from here for the purpose of my subject. So then I click continue. This takes me back to the landing page for this campaign, and I want to add my subject. So in the context of yesterday, I kept it really simple. Tomorrow's webinar, and then I can add this, and I'll often just add ... to leave people wanting more, hopefully. So that's just a preview that they'll see. Click save, and then we're set to go. So obviously here I've already got an audience that I've added just for the purposes of this webinar. So let me show you how I did that. So if I click on audience, now this is the audience that's already preset, but if I want to, if I go to view audiences, now obviously when you create a new account, you'll be able to, oh, it's not going to let me add an audience. That's a bit of a pain. So basically when you click create audience, actually what I'll do is I'll go into this audience and I'll add. Here we go. So if I go into click on subscribers, so this is just the same as if you're adding a brand new audience, but obviously MailChimp's not going to let me do that in this instance. So Just say this is a brand new audience. Here you've got add contacts. So this is basically the only real place for you to hang out when it comes to audiences. In my experience, is you want to either add a single subscriber or you want to import your contacts. So if you're adding a single subscriber, super straightforward. You just want to put in their email address, first name, last name, any other details, and then you want to pick this person gave me permission to email them. So that's adding a single subscriber. But in the context of adding a list of customers or a list of people that you want to send an email to, you click here and then upload file. Now this is your options. You've got CSV or tab limited text file. So my preference is always CSV. So what I'll do now is I'll quickly show you a little something I prepared earlier. So let me just share this with you. Here's just a simple spreadsheet that I prepared earlier. Now, obviously, for some of you, you might have lists and lists of names and email addresses. So this is just a brand new spreadsheet with just 5 businesses, just for the purposes of this demonstration. So what I've got here is I've got their business name, their first name, their last name, and their email. So that's all I need in my MailChimp. At the bare minimum would be that you have the first name, the last name, and the email. That enables you to send the email to Dear John or Dear John Smith, if you've got both, depending on how formal you want the email to be. And obviously, if I set it out like this, then all I have to do is click File, Save. Now, if I'm going to save it here, then all I'm doing is save it to my. Save it to my desktop as a test workbook, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as a CSV file. So there we go, comment delimited. And what that means is that MailChimp will be able to more easily pick it up. So now, if I revert back to MailChimp for you, so here we go, back to where we have upload file. So I click continue to upload, browse, and then I want to go to my desktop. I've got the test there. So then I go continue to organize. Now I want these people coming in to be under subscribed, and then update any existing contacts is useful as well, just in case you've already got people in your list, but they've got a new email address. That's always handy to pick. And continue to tag. So this is where you can divide up your audience. So in the context of the example I've shown you for these webinars, if I'm importing an audience of say 50 people and 30 of them were registered for this webinar and 20 were registered for another one, I can actually tag them in such a way. So that's what I've done here. So these are the 3 webinars that I presented throughout June. So I've actually tagged them. So you might say, based on when they contacted you, you might have June, and so you might create that as a new tag. But obviously, in this context, I'll just leave it. So let's say we want to tag them as this webinar. So if we continue to match, this is where you're able to check who you're actually importing. So I'm able to confirm that I'm importing this column as business name, this column as first name, and I can click across and check that everything's all good. And then I won't click this now because obviously they're just example email addresses. But then I just click finalize import, and in they come to my MailChimp list. So obviously I'm going to exit here. Then once I go back to my campaign, all I'm doing is going back to the test that we put together, clicking edit, and then it's all here to go. And then obviously I can edit my recipients. So I can send it to everyone in that list, or I can send it to different tags, like I talked about, the tags that I've set up. And then I want to personalize it. So I want it to come up in people's inbox as their first name. And now really quickly, just before we jump to some questions, is, as I said, it's essential that you tweak and test as much as required. So if we go back into edit design, here we have our option to obviously tweak as we've done, but also to test. So up the top here, the preview tab is going to be your best friend. First option, enter preview mode. As I click this, it's going to show me what my email is going to look like, both on a desktop, on a mobile, and then in an actual inbox. Oh, it's asking me to upgrade my account in order to see that. So let's stick with this. Desktop, and then if I click enable live merge tag info, this is where I can check that my first name has worked. So I can flick through as many of these as I need to check that it's indeed worked. Then I can exit out of that. And then here is your second best friend, is send a test email. So you can enter any email address here of yours, and that way it will send the email to you as a test. You can go through it. You can check all the check that all the links work. You can check the formatting's correct. You can check that the images appear as you would have hoped, so on and so forth. So this is hugely valuable, and I would encourage you to do this as many times as required until you feel that your email is in the best form possible. And then once you're happy with how the email looks and where it's going to go, you click continue. And then obviously in this instance, I'm not going to actually send it, but you would go up to the top here and you can either send it immediately by clicking send. It will obviously ask you a second time whether you really want to send it, or you can schedule it. So if I click schedule, I can actually pick the time, the date, and so on. So that's very useful as well. But in this instance, we're just going to stick with it as is, and hopefully that all makes sense to you. So that is a really simple but effective way to communicate with either an internal audience or an external audience. And obviously, as I said, you've got a whole range of different options as to what you can include in your actual email. If I jump back into there really quickly, so just for your own information, I can drop image groups into there whereby it's multiple images at once. I could drop a video, and here I can actually put either a YouTube or a Vimeo URL, and it will automatically bring up my video. Obviously, there's products there if that's your type of business. Share is handy as well, pointing people to social media content. That's very, very useful. There's a whole range of different things you can do there. All right, so let me jump out of this. Let me jump back to where we were, and let's dive into some questions. All right, sorry, just before we get to questions, some quick next steps for you. So first one would be to build a MailChimp profile for your business. It'll only take you a couple of minutes. As I said, that account that I just showed you then, I set up on purpose for the purpose of this webinar, and that only took me a couple of minutes yesterday. Then design a campaign, build your audience, and click send, but obviously not before you've tweaked and tested numerous times. And then if you require any further assistance, feel free to contact me at any stage. Now, I should point out, which you may have seen in the email yesterday, that this is actually the last chance to access the ASBAS program in its current form. So if I can be of any further assistance, particularly in the way of email marketing, feel free to book a Zoom consult with me, preferably place your booking this evening for the month of July, so that you can get in before things change as of tomorrow. I won't harp on too long about this, just in case there's a few questions coming through, but I will come back to this if we have time. So Q&A, here we go. We've got some questions coming through. So let me jump into this first one. What happens if you have a database that you are not sure if you're spelling the first name correctly as it was initially handwritten, or they didn't add their first name, but they wanted you to send them emails? It is tricky to put hi first name. Okay, sure. So if your data isn't as you would perhaps like it, then you can just change the introduction. So it doesn't necessarily have to be hi first name. It can be good morning without a tag there. It could be good afternoon. It could be to whom it may concern, whatever suits your context. If you don't have the right data, then you can leave that component out and just make it super generalized. Hopefully that helped. I'm going to speed through these so that we can get to them all. Next question, is there an ability to send out emails containing questions that users can simply answer from the email itself and submit without opening up another link? That is a good question. Without knowing the context that you're referring to, my suggestion would be that you have a button in your email which people can click on in order to submit their answer, and then you could pop up an email like I showed you, a preset email that goes to your email address, and you might even preset the answers for them. So it might be say it's A and B. You might have remove one of these to submit your answer, or answer with a colon, whatever it might be. But that would be my initial suggestion based on the first glance at that question, without knowing the context of your business. Obviously, it's hard to say, but that would be my suggestion. All right, next question. How much automation is there with MailChimp? Enough so you can set up a couple of emails in advance? Absolutely. So what I've shown you there is how to set up your first email using MailChimp. Once you've got your first one out the way, it gets a whole lot easier because you can use that as your template going forward. So the email that I sent last night, that set up a template for me to send any further emails in future. So all that you have to do, I'll actually show you quickly. It's probably going to be easier. So here we are. If I go back to my campaigns, right, so I go back to campaigns on the left-hand side. Now here's the campaign that I've just been working on as part of the demonstration. If I go to the right-hand side here, click this drop down, I can replicate it. So replicating it means I get the exact same design, the same subject line, the same preview text, so on and so forth, basically exactly the same. But don't be fooled, I would still tweak and test it numerous times to ensure that it's exactly how I want it. And just while we're here, I'll just give you a little bit more of a look at the insights. So if I click View Report here, obviously I don't want to give away any email addresses here, but this is obviously a super simple one that I've used. It shows me how many people have clicked on the links. It will show me, obviously you can pay for more and more insights. It's showing me that 19 people opened it, 2 people clicked, 1 email address bounced, so it's probably an incorrect email address, and 1 person unsubscribed. It shows me when people were opening it. Obviously I don't want to give away email addresses, but it's even telling me that people in the USA, so some of the audience are from the USA. So that's great. All right, so hopefully that helps with your question. Let me jump back to this one. All right, let's bring up the next question. If you did end up having to move to another email system, would it be easy to move your info over from MailChimp? Absolutely. So you can go into your audiences and export them. And then obviously you can export them to Excel and then import them into your next system. All right, let's keep moving. Your opinion, what might be best for e-commerce business? Email marketing system MailChimp seems to be able to do everything you'd want it to for a basic startup. Absolutely. I think MailChimp is more than capable of assisting an e-commerce business. Now, obviously, as I showed you under the blocks on the homepage, you can actually drag and drop product placement. So obviously in doing so, you're able to add images, text, pricing, so on and so forth. So I would 100% recommend MailChimp for e-commerce. I think I heard somewhere not good to input pics into your email. What are your thoughts? I think it depends. I think there's a balance between too many photos and not enough. Again, if you've got a lot of text, it's important that you have something that breaks it up, unless it's, of course, an important message that's more of just a statement. But I would absolutely encourage you to break up your text with photos. But again, if you're sending an email with nothing but photos, then chances are you're not going to generate a whole lot of engagement. Hope that helps. Another question here, what is a good open rate or click rate? That is a great question. A good open rate is anything in or around 30%. Now, obviously, the email I just showed you was 50%, so that's very encouraging. 30% is actually quite good. So anything in or around that is really good. And then a click rate is anything sort of between 2 and 5% in my experience. So 2 or 5% is really good. Again, it's not always about whether people are clicking, it's about are they engaging with your content. So it's not necessarily whether they've clicked, but if they've responded to your email, that's just as good as well. So which obviously the statistics don't show you the responses, because that's more on the personal side if they're actually responding to your email. Hope that helps. Let's just see what else is said here. Can you schedule a month's worth of content? I'm sure you can. I've never tried to, but I'm sure you can. No reason why you can't attempt that. There may be limits on it based on whether you've subscribed to MailChimp or not, but again, it's well worth a look. Now, just before we finish, I'll just remind you that if I can assist, or if any of my team through 7 Patterns can assist you with email marketing or anything in this branding and marketing space, feel free to reach out. Feel free to send me an email. If you're interested in getting a copy of these slides that I've presented this evening, feel free to shoot me an email at hello@7patterns.com. And as always, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear more about your business. But I just want to quickly touch on crafting a campaign. We've just gone over time, but I'm happy to give a few extra minutes just to run you through this. The importance of a campaign more broadly, obviously they have the power to be persuasive. They have the power to spark momentum in your business by focusing on a particular product, service, idea, season, industry. But this is the reason I want to mention this tonight, is because this is a way to generate customer data for email marketing and other channels, other purposes. You might be thinking, MailChimp's awesome, email marketing's, there's no doubt that it's of importance, but how on earth am I going to get customer data? Can I encourage you that crafting a campaign is a great way to do so? There's obviously various elements you can include in a campaign, but things such as social media marketing, which points people to a landing page, something that's specific to your business, your product, your service, your idea. That way you're able to grab that customer data, you're able to build up your audience, and then following your campaign, you're able to work on building that customer retention or turning audience members into customers as a result. So that's just a campaign, a holistic campaign in a nutshell. And if that's of interest to you, or if that's where you think you're at as a business and you need that sort of thing to spark momentum in your business, feel free to reach out to me to discuss further. Well, it's 8:02. We've gone slightly over. If there's no other questions, then we will call it a day. There's something coming through here. Is this another question? Oh, no, it's a thank you. So thanks very much. Appreciate that. I'm glad it was helpful. Again, if you've got any questions or anything that I can help with, by all means, feel free to reach out via the details there. Again, I'll just remind you that the ASBAS program is changing as of tomorrow. So you're obviously all already members. So if I can help with anything, feel free to make a booking. Thanks very much for your kind words. I'm glad it was helpful. Stay safe, stay warm, and all the best to you and your business. And again, anything I can do to help, feel free to reach out. But otherwise, all the best. I'm glad you could join us this evening. and I look forward to hearing from some of you. Have an awesome evening. Thank you.